what's up, everybody? Back with another podcast here on the Black Swan channel. Today, we want to be talking about why media companies sell out. We recently saw a video created by Lady Decade where she was covering, primarily focusing on the recent buyout of EA, Electronic Arts video game company, by the Saudis. And this is nothing new. Recently, the Saudis, all wasn't recent, but pretty much so. Recently, they bought out the SNK fighting game company, in which all that money was put into the development of that video game to come out earlier this year. And despite the Saudi investment with all that money, the game was not all that. There was still a lot missing. So we're going to be asking the question, why do media companies sell out? Is there any legitimate reason aside from maybe, well, out of greed, or is there an actual necessity to sell to a oligarch and so on? So, Black Swan man, what after watching that video that Lady Decade made, what was your general take on it?
I think my general take was it was hard for me to understand. I was trying to put the pieces together in regards to like why Saudi Arabia was basically trying to get into these entertainment markets. Like I know they've invested in like the WWE, they took it over, or sports. Like I know they've been doing a bunch of different sports, hosting them in Saudi Arabia at times. And even they've had a moderate influence over video games for a while. So to me, I was just trying to figure out why, like, what is the intent and what is the motive for them to be in a market like that? Because, I mean, as you know, the Saudi Arabia is a very conservative society, very closed off, somewhat they refer to it as authoritarian. So I just didn't understand what their purpose was of being in these types of markets. I mean, I'm sure that there's way more markets that have higher profitability than being in entertainment, but that's kind of the thing that kind of struck me more than anything.
I would say it makes perfect sense why. Number one, their general motive is we can't rely on oil forever type thing, right? That's a bad investment. Countries like Botswana that exported diamonds for many years, even after colonization. Now, diamond production is low, or diamond consumption at a global scale is low. And their main export, being diamonds, is now, well, in trouble, right? What if one day you no longer need oil, right, to run a car? You can use something else. Elon Musk made a battery, as he's doing right now. See, with these electrical cars, uh, you wouldn't need that much oil. I think. I would like to think.
Though then again, you need petroleum products for everything, like in regards to like materials made for just random things, food products, plastics, all these things. Like oil is like used for everything. I mean, they may reduce the amount of oil that they use, but oil is still like a significant commodity that is used like worldwide for pretty much everything.
I agree.
But not to say that they're probably going to reduce their use of it.
You never know, because I've noticed that these oligarchs are pretty dumb. So when there is a new trend of green energy, we're going to be using solar panels. To produce solar panels, I'm sure you need oil too. But the oligarchs are dumb, you see. They will be like, oh no, they're going to stop using oil eventually, so we need to invest in that. They actually are dumb. They're not as coordinated as we thought they are, right? So there probably is a scramble like that. And there's nothing wrong with diversifying your investments. It's actually a very good idea. You should. So I would say they're diversifying their investment, and the entertainment space in the video game industry alone generates billions of dollars per year, right? Them going into WWE, well, it used to generate billions of dollars a year as well. But since their involvement, they are more about the gimmicks of WWE, not the heart. They don't get it. That's the problem with ultra rich people. You're so cut off from the heart of things because you only see the profits from it. And then when you try to get involved, you try to put other gimmicks in there and you think that it'll make things work. But it's like, no, you're missing the heart of it, something they wouldn't understand. Them trying to diversify and jump into this space is a diversification of their investment. And I don't think they have a moral authority type of desire to enforce within the space. I don't think they want to enforce any type of morality, despite, how they present themselves as conservative and whatnot. I don't think they are buying EA out or even creating their own Comic Cons, as I once discussed with Solitaire. He mentioned that the Middle East, has a very big comic book space, but their main consumption is manga and Western comics. There is not much of Middle Eastern centered stories at all, because if you are a Shia Muslim, most likely you're not allowed to draw anything with eyes, right? But places like Qatar and Saudi Arabia, they have a very healthy comic book market there, but it's still based on products outside those regions. Solitaire mentioned that it's like 2001 in Saudi Arabia right now in terms of the comic book industry. And I asked him, is it worth investing in? He was like, well, the issue is you are going to be dependent on the mercy of the Saudi princes, because that one example he gave was that there was a Comic-Con that was marketed to take place at this location, and then the prince changed his mind 3 days earlier and said, no, move it uptown, right? Move it uptown. He didn't care how this would affect the logistics or how much it would cost. People already bought tickets for this one place, and the prince said, no, I changed my mind. So they had to move it, and the people who bought tickets for this location no longer could reach the other location, and the prince got mad. But then it's like, wait, dude, don't you realize what you've done? These oligarchs are completely disconnected. Saudi buying these a company like WWE or NSK, the question again, is WWE selling out? Is SNK selling out? Is anyone who sells their company to the Saudis selling out? Well, I don't think so anymore.
So this is one perspective that I looked at it from. If you look at the Japanese, right, they have a history of innovations in all sectors, all kinds of sectors, from energy to this to that. But one of their most popular sectors is entertainment. That was one of the things that they specialized in, creating entertainment. And then also probably adopting or adapting like-minded works from other places that they could, incorporate into their form of entertainment for their society, their population. And then as they create it inside their population, it spreads out to the world. And the Saudi, from their position, is that their society is more closed off, conservative. So is this media that they're forming or trying to influence, is it necessarily going to be for their population or just the outside world? And if that's the case, do they have the creative force within their country to produce these things the way the Japanese do and to have an influence the way the Japanese do? Or are they just going to have sectors outside of Saudi Arabia? They're going to have France and all these different people, and then they come with ideas to them. It just feels like, the heart and the passion is not into it as much as the Japanese put into their work and their meaning behind what they do. That's just my opinion. They may have a strategy, an idea, but that's just kind of a question that I would pose
Now,
to them doing.
I say they have, as I said earlier, they have no heart in it, bro. They just see profits, diversifying their investments. The Japanese are producers within themselves. It is part of their culture to produce what they produce and export it. The Saudis, their greatest pride, I would say, is that oil, right? Is that oil and how much power that gives them. So they use this power, I would say, to take over other industries and keep them on the outside, because obviously they would not want SJW type material to be spread throughout the general population's psyche in that region at all. I would say they want to keep control and ownership on the outside and have the appearance of a cultural force to be reckoned with. The greatest exploiter of culture is definitely America and Japan. Now, Japan is dwindling, right? But America's cultural export, it will still remain the biggest superpower for the next 200 years. Even fast food can be considered as a culture. America's McDonald's is everywhere, right? The Saudis are not exporting anything of their culture. And the Saudi oligarchs don't live lives as, normal Muslim conservatives. It's just the normal population who are told to do that for the sake of social order. But of course, no oligarch lives exactly like any book. I mean, let's be honest.
And I think it's like, how do they know? I mean, yes, they may have a few people who are creative. How do they know what to look for? It's like you said, in American society, the way we think and the way that we produce is what we end up sending out to the world. The way the Japanese think, the way they produce is what they send out to the world. So maybe they're going to finance people in other places to have different views on things, to know what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. I guess it just comes down to just they want to finance, but given that they're a political or government body, entity, a country, I'm guessing they're going to put some of their influence into their works. And it's like, I don't know. I guess I would think, why wouldn't they build up a Saudi market? Like if there was a Saudi comic, like they started a Saudi, they could just start comic cons, like big comic con. I don't know if they have them already, but like big comic cons in Saudi Arabia where they promote Saudi people to, I mean, there's some good artists everywhere you go. I've seen artwork from Saudi Arabia in manga and everything, but it's like, why when they, I guess, I don't know. To me, it's just not oxymoronic. It's just kind of strange to me, but if they're going to make money, I go for it.
Now, the thing is, there are Comic Con events there, but they host outsiders. A lot of artists from Singapore. Someone like Stanley Lau, you probably don't know him. Before AI, this guy was very popular. He was on that Kim Jong something who passed away, who could draw anything from his head. He was at that level of popularity. A bunch of others, even a South African artist called something Low, and this one artist called Rake. These artists were very popular and were generally hosted in a lot of Comic Con events throughout the world, right? The Saudis do host, but based on the information I found, how a lot of uh, these Saudis who decide to buy a company or be involved in certain entertainment company is those who enjoyed that material or that product from the company. Like talking about the SNK fighting game. Apparently, one of the princes there was an all-time fan. And as a ultra rich, spoiled brat, he was like, I need a new SNK game. How come they haven't released one in years? Right? Because they're out of money. So this goes to the question of, did SNK sell out because, well, they just wanted to sell out? Or was the Prince's approach that, look, I need another game. I'm willing to give y'all the money so you can produce another game. But if I give you the money, obviously, I want some form of creative say so in this. And his influence was some dumb fudgery in which he said, I want Cristiano Ronaldo in the game, and I want some Brazilian DJ in the game. That made no sense to the lore and heart of what SNK is. And that's the thing, is that these people can have all the money, but they don't have the heart. For them, it's just, yay, fun games. Same thing with WWE. You saw that video that the Decade made, how the princes wanted Undertaker and Goldberg to fight. Undertaker's like 60 years old now, right? And it just shows how disconnected they are from reality. That so you bought an entire company like WWE so you can watch Undertaker and Brock Lesnar and Goldberg to fight each other. These people are way past their prime, right? They bought it for a petty, stupid, short-lived experience. You see this also, I would say, with rich oligarchs in India. I once saw they paid Rihanna a massive bag of money to go perform at a Indian oligarch's birthday party. This was not really promoted like that. It was somewhat private, but there were people who took videos. Rihanna's energy was low, but she performed, right? It's like if you're going to pay that amount of money for just one singer, why don't you invest more into Bollywood? Because it's not like India is culturally bankrupt. It's got all kinds of different heroes and monsters and lore and that they can use. But the oligarchs in India are not, investing in their own. It's weird.
I guess to myself is if these princes or whatever, they're indulging in this entertainment from the West, is it just something that they're doing? Are they not in the let population have a see at this stuff? And because I know they're very restrictive, conservative and restrictive there. So it's like, are they allowing them to see this content? Like if you got WWE, this country's invested in it, you would think that they would want audience. I mean, the audience would be like, it would give you like, what do you call it? Strength, country pride, cultural pride, country pride. When you see that they're investing in these things and you get to see what the Saudis own, it's like, okay, our country owns this, we own this, and then let's just show you what we own. But you don't think they want their people to see it? It's like, I know that they've been increasing their, like one of the biggest markets for gaming. So apparently their people are playing games, but I'm wondering if they'd want to introduce this stuff into their population.
I don't think so. The thing is, we don't know to the extent how big is Saudi Arabia's middle class. We don't know. We don't know how the economy actually works over there.
Oil.
Oh, right, oil. So you got that going, but I would say it's definitely an event mostly for the indulgences of the prince. It can be extravagant, sure, but I'm sure middle class people can attend. It's not restricted, right? It's not like, hey, it's only oligarchs only and so on. But what is clear as day is that the cultural influence outside of Saudi Arabia in terms of entertainment is greater than what they have to offer inside. I mean, these people have just been focusing on the oil since day one, bro. Right? They got they have nothing else to export to the world. The best way is, I don't want to say steal, but it's just to buy other people out that, hey, we're going to now own EA. You guys made whatever they made. EA made a bunch of sports games like FIFA. You know that the Saudis bought one of the soccer leagues in Europe as well. It's all connected in a way that, yeah, they are buying the most profitable pieces of entertainment out there, right? And the ones who sell to them using the Japanese video game company SNK, they definitely had no money left. They had no money, right? But even though the money was given, I don't know how much that money was because visually the game is great, but mechanically there's great lack. I would know. I play a lot of fighting games. It's like if you had that amount of money, y'all should have been able to produce a game that had the same animation level as Capcom Street Fighter 6 or 5. But it's not even at Street Fighter 5 level. You had this creative control that the prince dictated that put a character that's got nothing to do with the game and so on. But these people took the money because they had to. Most likely, like EA, is in debt. When you buy out a company, you also inherit its debt. Saudi prince don't care. He can pay it off 10 times over. And because they are so short-sighted and are not about the heart, they think they can replace a lot of the developers there with AI. That, hey, we will quadruple or triple our profits now because some of the people who messed up the games, we're going to fire them and use AI. But AI only gives what has been created. It just can't create something new, really. So
I guess I look at it like, what is like, the Japanese, they have a long term, a long time frame, a long history of creating works from within. And I guess I just wonder, is like, okay, you own this company that's pre-existing, they have a history, a legacy, but are you going to be able to sustain that legacy or even improve on the legacy of EA? Maybe they can. Maybe they'll hire people from the West, they'll hire people from France, they'll hire people from England, they'll hire people from the US, Brazil, or wherever, and they'll be able to capture the same thing that EA did at the beginning. But I just wonder, it's like, I think that shit just comes from the culture. Like, I think it's born from there, and I think it develops like the Japanese manga culture. I think that shit is like, it's just like a staple in their society. It's how they think. It's how they fucking tell stories. I just don't think, I don't know. I guess I don't think money is just enough to compensate for the work that is produced, but only time will tell.
I think it's obvious, bro, because like the fighting game thing, um, the Saudi prince who bought that company clearly doesn't care about Japanese culture. He does not care what each character actually represents. Because indeed, the Japanese, when they create their characters, they give them birthdays, they give them backstories, blah, blah, blah. Saudi didn't care. You know, he was like, hey, I like the Brazilian DJ. He's cool. Put him in the game. Like, what?
Well, why I know in Mortal Kombat and different games they've done that before though, that they've inserted characters who are kind of, you know, just kind of out there. I forgot some of the characters they inserted in some games. Like I think even Marvel versus Capcom, maybe they had some characters from outside games or something. You know, I've seen that done before. So to me, that's not so uncommon. But I get what you're saying though, like just to incorporate that immediately into the game.
Nah, see, the example you're giving, like Mortal Kombat, putting in, let's say, Kratos, that's from a different game. It's from a different game. You see what I mean? It's still within the industry. A DJ from Brazil put in a fighting game from Japan. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I swear to God, I've seen like random characters in like some games before. You know, I'm not trying to exclude the fact or, you know, I'm trying to not mitigate for it. I'm not trying to like act like you're not having a point, but I just know for sure I've seen like random characters in like fighting games or in different games that they insert in there just for like popularity's sake and shit like that.
Okay. Well, I mean, as a fighting game fan, bro, I'm telling you, they take other characters from other game IPs. Soul Calibur would take like Link from
Oh,
Marvel's World.
good one. Soul Calibur had Spawn in it.
Yeah, Spawn might not be a video game character, but he's a character that wields weapons. He's a character. You see what I mean? He's a character, not a human being who's actually, at the disco club and playing music and whatnot. So there needs to be context.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. I swear to God, like I've seen a DJ or some shit in a fighting game before. I just can't remember. But no, I got you. I get the point though. I get the point.
If a company needs to sell to a buyer because they are in debt and so on. Now, if I was in charge of EA and the buyer is a Saudi prince, he's offering 80 billion. Obviously, you would like that 80 billion. But if I care for what EA is and what it has stood for, thing is, all video game companies have been corrupted now thanks to the Sweet Baby Inc. SJW garbage, the DI BlackRock initiative that's been corrupted, right? So most likely the person at the top at EA was like, whatever, this whole thing has been a sinking ship anyway. Let me just sell it. But for others who have more integrity, I'd be like, look, man, are you going to keep the core of what this company is? Do you want to revitalize what it once stood for before the corruption? Because if you don't want to do that, I'd rather let it die than to have you turn it something that it's not. It's either the SJWs make it completely crazy or you turn it into a complete circus where you're going to have Brad Pitt and Samuel L. Jackson playing in a FIFA match. And it's like, what? This ain't FIFA anymore. Yeah.
I wonder if like I know you're gonna do a video pretty soon on like the collapse of the Roman Empire or something like that you had mentioned before. But I wonder, I've studied a little bit about the Roman Empire, and I wonder if like they're giving every country certain categories of industries for them to basically use it as like vassal states. Like, okay, you'll be in charge of the Japanese will be in charge of entertainment. We'll be in charge of this. Like on a mass scale, like each country is like realms of the kingdom, and they basically fucking specialize in certain things. You know, I don't know. I was just like a random thought I had.
In this interconnected world, the problem is that it's centralized. Like in the time of Rome, Greece, and whatnot, they were decentralized. You know, they didn't have to subscribe to one doctrine. So if that vassal state was in charge of producing something, let's say spears or training horses, there was no centralized, overbearing, overseeing doctrine that, by the way, when you train those horses, you better train them like this and be mindful of this. Make sure that all the black horses don't feel left out compared to the white horses. You see what I mean? When you sharpen the steel, don't make sure that all the women that are there have extra gloves. Make sure that the men aren't too. That that doesn't work or it wouldn't work because there's a centralized, enforced law that you're gonna have to have diversity and females sharpening the swords and whatnot. That you wanna slow production down if that's the case. You wanna treat the horses differently based on the color of their fur. You're slowing down production. Where we are right now, production has been slowed because BlackRock pretty much is the grand enforcer of this centralized way of media production. And I don't think the Saudis have the power to say no to BlackRock. I don't think they do. Saudi Arabia is circular, in my opinion. It's legit. Even Zolataire said that we think it's conservative, but it's actually America in 2001, right? In the early 2000s. So people's morality, sure, there was still a light enforcement, traditional values, but the gate was already open that now you can run around in the circular apartment. You don't really have to subscribe the one doctrine. You don't have to. That's where they are. And of course, with the internet, all them kids growing up on the phone, bro, they've seen all kinds of things. They've seen all kinds of things. Everybody knows you go to Saudi and Dubai as a chick and you know those princes are going to do things to you. And yeah, everybody know.
So one other thing that I thought about, a concern for me, because I don't really play games like that anymore. Every now and then I may play, but one thing that was a concern for me is if this is going to be under Saudi rule, EA Games, do they have the ability to outright ban people that maybe say things that are not as agreeable with what their positions, or you know, just that type of thing? Like, do they have the ability to do that? You know, it said that if they're under U.S. law or U.S. jurisdiction, then they can't officially legally outright ban people. But I don't know if I mean, their infrastructure is probably here mostly, so I don't know if they'll move the entire EA infrastructure to Saudi Arabia. So they'll probably work within the laws of the U.S., I guess.
If you work under the laws of the U.S., you kind of slow production down. The U.S. itself is importing illegal immigrants to exploit them because U.S. law, protects the American worker. So if they want to operate within U.S. law, they're going to be slowing themselves down. They want them sweatshops that they already have over there in Saudi. Human rights violations every hour on the hour, right? Everybody knows this, right? China, all of America, not all of it, but most of it took its industrial industry, put it right there in China because of them sweatshops. It's like, well, sorry, American people, but y'all got too many rights. Holiday and all that, nah, screw that.
So you think that they'll most likely end up moving the operations to Saudi Arabia from the U.S.?
Without a doubt. And I would say if they didn't want to, right? It's too costly to do so, they'll keep it in the US and just use AI. That's the problem.
Because then if that's the case, and if you're a video game player, if they move the headquarters to Saudi Arabia, they're probably subject to their jurisdiction. So that means that if you are a player, they probably may be able to ban you if, whatever, they don't like what you say.
Totally. But then again, you can get banned in the US now for saying the wrong thing. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Yeah, nothing's really different. In a way, it's either you in North Korea or China or the US. where all of them can ban you, but to what extent, like North Korea, cut you to pieces.
I guess in the U.S. you could potentially have some kind of recourse, not all the time, and it's probably not worth the money, but at least you could like have a lawsuit, you know, and more like authoritarian or controlled societies, like the legal system is not even an option, you know.
Yeah, this
I
in
don't
the
think.
U.S. you can challenge it. You can challenge the unfair accusation of banning and so on, and people can give you some, it can give you an ear and even support. You can have a GoFundMe. Hey guys, I need help going to court. They screwed me over. Blah blah blah. Saudi Arabia, not at all. You complain, put you in the desert, bro. So it's like, yeah.
You can play your asses out of here.
Uh-huh. They ain't playing no games, even though they buying all these games. So now, in the context of creating manga and comics, now it appears that Shonen Jump sold out to BlackRock because they are dishing out trash consistently, right? They are overworking their artists, like the creator of Cover Abashi. Yes, it's garbage. It's hyper violent and no story. But they're working that guy to the bone, to the point where now he's not even finishing the drawings in each chapter. It's like been 3, 4 weeks, and the guy can't finish most of the chapters. It's still got a lot of sketches, and
Oh wow.
I'm like, if either Japan is so retarded, or they have been told that, listen, you gonna work all these dudes to the bone, to the point where either y'all are gonna adapt to AI, or we're just going to shut y'all down. Because what a normal editor is supposed to do, be like, no, give this guy 2 weeks off, send him to therapy, send him to a massage parlor, a chiropractor, and make sure he's 100% after 2 weeks, right? That, because that's an investment. This person is creating product for y'all, and his books are being bought every month, versus him going on hiatus for 6 months. That's 6 months worth of cash gone, right? Because you don't lose any money if the guy's gone for 2 weeks to go to therapy, but you sure as hell gonna lose a lot of money if he's gone for 6 months because he had a complete meltdown. Why don't they consider this? Why don't they think about it? It's either they're retarded or they've been told, right, that work them to the bone until there's nothing left. It's unsustainable.
Well, they have a history of that, right? Like they like, okay, we know what the people here are capable of. We know their capacities, and we know that basically we may be able to get replacements if this person can't handle it, right? So I guess that pushes the person to try to meet these deadlines by any means, right? It's like, this is my first series or this is my second series. I'm trying to maintain this image or my productivity. So they're willing to do whatever it takes to kind of meet those goals. And that's probably like a history of the Japanese. That's probably a part of their culture, you know?
Yeah, but the new generation doesn't have the same stamina as people of the old days. So you can keep the culture, but if this generation doesn't have the stamina to keep up with the culture, you end up obliterating who you have left, right? It's not sustainable. They're not considering this. Japan is not what it used to be, and they're not as,
I mean, I guess if you were going to say, like, I don't think they're looking at it from a very human perspective. Like, I think they're looking at it from the people as like a tool. Like, this is a machine, this is a tool. You know, you do what you can. If you can survive, then you survive. And, hey, whatever, right? It's like you're a tool. You're a Japanese person. You're one of my tools in my kingdom, right? So your job is to do this. I don't think that I don't know if they really have a humane outlook
yeah, the
on the
might
scenario.
might not, but or probably not. But the tools are not as sharp as they used to be. You know, people like Toriyama, whose father was probably in World War II, right? I mean, being a direct second generation from that type of caliber of man, or third generation of that caliber of man, you inherit that will of fire that is still very bright and strong. But this generation, the ones born after the 1993 crash in Japan, first of all, they get bombed, then they get hit with another earthquake, then they get hit with the the crash, then they get hit with a subway gas bombing and people die and whatnot, they were demoralized through and through, right? And you have a massive generation of people who were born from demoralized adults, adults who couldn't even start their lives properly after the crash. This actually does have a psychological effect. Yeah, Japan doesn't even consider that.
But the thing about it is they're still doing it. Like I say, I have a friend over there and they're working like all the time. Manga artists, they're always working, dude. Wake up in the morning, working. Like they sleep like a few hours. They get back up, go back to work. That shit is still, I mean, I don't know about the level of the strength it still has as opposed to the past, but dude, they're still going along like, like people have been in the past.
They can keep going, but it's clearly not sustainable because this guy is working at a weekly basis at Shonen Jump and he's struggling, right? That should be a sign that just because others still have the stamina here and there, I wouldn't even say that they are challenged as much as a Shonen Jump artist is challenged. Heck no. Like the ones you're talking about, I don't think so. But even if they were, it's still not sustainable.
If I were gonna, like, my perspective, right? Like if I was gonna do business or I'm doing business, I would look at it like, okay, like what can this person do? How can they perform? What can I get them to perform better? Can I get, like, how many assistants do I need? All these different things. But yes, I would want to make sure the person that I'm working with has a decent quality of life. Of course. I mean, it's like, yes, our deadlines are important to the status of the company, sure. But also my artist is important to the status of the company. I guess that maybe those two, one, they prioritize over the other maybe sometimes,
And that
or a lot of times.
is the belief of Torishima. Remember in the book when I read it over there on Patreon that he said Toriyama was always in a good state of mind, which serves as another fundamental component to being a successful manga artist. You need to be in a good state of mind. How many people can afford to be in a good state of mind now? Because the assistants are coming from your pocket, you paying for them, right? And not only that, but you see what's happening in Japan with their so-called far-right movement where they want anti-immigration. I didn't know this until recently, but the Japanese government gives more aid to foreigners than Japanese people. I couldn't believe it. That's actually true, but it's true. And if the young people see this, I'm like, man, I got issues, bro. Why are you helping these people I don't know?
There's a destabilization of countries in general. Like a lot of countries are doing it. In the West are doing it. Japan, they're doing it. It's like, it causes destabilization. They know what they're doing. They're causing people to have conflict with the general, like the whole Japanese thing of saying like, the population decline and we need to import immigrants because our population is slowing. No, you don't. What happened is that you guys basically made it unsustainable for people to have families. They can barely make it by. They can barely eat food and have a place to live. So therefore, they're doing the responsible thing and not having kids and not reproducing because they can't afford it. That's what happened. And now they can't afford it. And then so their population declines. And then you bring a bunch of immigrants. It just causes conflict. It's just to destabilize the world. They want to destabilize the entire world. We're all, Bobby, that's a whole nother subject. We're all living in fucking third world, poverty, low class, and the whole world's gonna be a damn ghetto.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you see, despite knowing all of this, that they want to getify the entire planet, this doesn't mean that we're gonna sit here and give up and not tell our stories. Because one thing's for sure, whoever's leading the charge of this ghettoification, they might have their empire, but it always crashes. Rome lasted 2,000 years, right? Western Rome fell, and then the Byzantine Empire fell. Sure, we might be long dead, but as things are, no empire can last 1,000 years as they once could. Thanks to technology, a lot of things crash and burn sooner. You actually accelerate time thanks to technology, thanks to this massive communication. Like, look at the Snowden thing where he exposed how your cell phone is spying on you and stuff like that, and the whole world found out, right? And this kind of changed everything. It made people more aware of what's going on with their devices and stuff like that. So when you have that and a general distrust with your governments, there is no way that their enforcement of anything can last forever. North Korea on its own can't keep enforcing its authoritarian dictatorship without the help of China. Its population would starve to death without China and Russia supplying them with food, right? So that's the thing, is that whatever organization or whatever person wants to go to the extreme like North Korea, you can't sustain yourself. North Korea would have turned to dust in 5, 10 years. They would have been overthrown. Kim Jong-un would have been barbecued, right? Long time ago. That's why I think, despite the obvious that they want to ghettoify everything and stuff like that, there is no way that they can actually fully achieve this. Even if they want to create a central bank digital currency thing, it's not sustainable. Even if you look at it logically, it's just not sustainable. You know.
Well, I think like always go back. I know you don't have too much faith in people, which I kind of don't as well either. But I think it goes back to the people. It's like the people should support people on the ground. If you got people on the ground creating good work, you support them. You become a part of movement on the ground to push things forward, where you're giving these corporations competition. You're taking away market share from them and giving it to other people on the ground, where you have real competition, where you have real fucking capitalism or whatever, right? It's like they should be supporting the people on the ground. Supporting people on the ground is a support for yourself. And I think that's a conceptualization that people need to somehow try to understand, is like, it makes you stronger when you support your neighbor, as opposed to supporting the large company who owns all the gas stations or whatever.
Though what you just said is definitely true, but just a talking point for even those, let's say, who hate coffee comics. Like, all I'm saying is, hey, we need to inspire everybody. Got to unlock the inner man. Got to start at the bottom and so on. And most people can agree with that, even though they might hate me because of how I sound. They can agree with it, but they don't practice it. They don't practice it because it's not a cultural expectation. Now the cultural expectation is do whatever you want, just have fun, bro. Do you, bro? Blah, blah, blah. But in doing that, you only dig a deeper hole for yourself. That's why, for me, it's like you need to start your own tribe. When you have your own tribe, they can inherit the will of fire that you have. They can take the torch that you were lighting up all the time, right? They can sit around the fire that you sparked, stay warm, and make their own material, right? That borrows some fire over there to inspire other people. And that's good enough. Because as I once said, Socrates didn't have an army of people listening to him. It was just a handful. And we know about him today. Because, yeah, we really, really can't touch the hearts or minds of the general public. They're too far gone.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Well, what was the wrap up today? We did the buyout of the EA games.
So the wrap up on the final point is the list we made was media companies aren't dead. We just spoke about that. The buyers are retarded and they change things from the inside. The last thing was employees of the bought companies lose passion for the craft and leave. That, you see, now most people can be like, yeah, then let them just leave. The thing is, you wouldn't have the same funding that Microsoft would give you to fund a AAA game, right? Now, others can say, yeah, I saw one game called Expedition 33. It only had 33 people, and they made a great game. Like, nigga, please. Do you know who funded them? And that's another thing. If you work for a big industry, it's no different to the Kickstarter people. A lot of Kickstarter comic book success stories are people who were even in Hollywood, bro, who are like, I couldn't get my movie out. So what I did do was get an artist and paid him $10,000 to get my movie idea out into a comic book. And then, of course, it's a Hollywood guy. He want to go to the big cheese of Kickstarter campaigns. He'll be like, yo, I want to make returns on this. Help me out. Of course, it's going to help him out, right? You can leave a corrupted company that's been bought by retards, but you need to be an important person already for you to have a mass following that, hey, I was once an executive here, I'm now doing this, or I was once a guy at DC Comics and I'm doing it. That's how it works, you know?
Yeah, similar to the guy about No Name, right? The guy who got picked up by Shueisha or whatever.
Oh yeah, Rafal Jockey. Yes, yes. Just like him, even though he's thinking it was a failure. But they picked him up anyway because it's like, oh, well, your series was successful on Netflix. Might as well give you a shot, right? So I think a lot of artists right now in the indie space should not have the same expectations of success. If you are a female, though, like Irene, and you have a bunch of gooners staring at you, you can make all kinds of returns. Even though your comic might not be about boobs and butts, it's just the fact that the female's important right now. And if you are attractive, come on, man. All these gooners are paying thousands on OnlyFans. So to buy your comic book, they want to help you out.
All right, well, I guess the journey still continues, huh?
The journey continues, but it's not for nothing. This will crash. I'm gonna do a video on the what saved the gaming industry when it crashed in 1983. It's legit what's happening now with movies, comics, and games again. Watch. You're gonna see that video, man. What saved it wasn't Nintendo, but how they saved it is similar to what Coffee Comics has been saying all along. That's it for now, everybody. Like, subscribe, share, and don't be a hunchback.